Hey guys, Rob Davis, One Blue Robot. I'm going to tell you right from the start, this is someone, Jennifer Sarton, that when I started One Blue Robot, she came to mind. What she does is probably in more desperate, dire need. Is that too strong? Desperate, dire need.
So.
We're going to start right off, Jennifer. I'm going to have you let's just tell your story.
I'm kind of an example of somebody who doesn't have to come from an abusive family or, lots of trauma. I was raised in California. My parents are still married. My sister's a doctor. Just couldn't have had a better upbringing. Dabbled in alcohol and some drugs in high school, just kind of like everybody else did. And then I was a tennis player, and so I got a scholarship to UC Irvine in California, which, if you know that school, it's a pretty good school.
Yep.
So everything was looking great, bright future ahead and all that. As soon as I graduated, I hurt my back and was prescribed hydrocodone. From the very moment that I took the first hydrocodone, it was done. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to take one of these for the rest of my life. I don't care what it takes. Because I figured, one of these things, I knew they weren't good for you, but to take one every day just isn't going to be that big of a deal. It had that profound of an effect on me.
On the first one?
On the first one.
Wow.
Happy, energetic. It was just the solution to anything that was going on. In retrospect, I think that I was dealing with a little bit of depression. For example, I went to, my parents noticed that something wasn't quite right when I was in college. And so they sent me to a counselor there, and which was the right thing to do. And after I met with the counselor, the diagnosis was that I was homesick. Well, my home was 45 minutes away from school, and I was there almost every weekend. And so, plus, not to mention, I was embarrassed of that. I was kind of ashamed of that. Now, knowing everything that I do, I think I was battling some depression.
How did it progress?
So little did I know that just taking one the next day wasn't going to give me the same effect. So I needed two. And tolerance is literally built that fast.
Wow. From one day to the next, you thought, so you took one and it just was like, well, this isn't really cutting it.
Right.
Pop another one.
Yes.
Wow.
And then the next day, 3. And that's no exaggeration. It goes up that quickly. Normal people take it and they, recover from a surgery, or they, and it's sedating and they sleep and all that. But a lot of addicts, you'll hear them have the same experience as me, where it has kind of the opposite effect, where, we'll take it and we'll clean our whole house, or we'll...
You told me that one time, that you could go for 5 hours and clean your house.
Yes, and a lot of addicts report that same thing. And that's what kind of tells you, at least it tells me, that there's a genetic component to it, that there's something chemical going on in our bodies that our response is that way, because that's abnormal. And AA says that addiction or alcoholism is an allergy of the body and an obsession of the mind. Well, that's 100% true. An allergy is an adverse reaction. I had an adverse reaction. A normal person does not take hydrocodone and clean their entire house and garage out. I started getting in legal trouble, forging prescriptions. And what happens is when you're addicted to opioids, if you don't have them, you go into really severe withdrawal. And it's like having the flu, but 100 times worse. There's body aches, sweating and chills, and I'd rather have the flu for a month than go through a week of withdrawals. And then you've got the mental part of the withdrawals, where it's just severe anxiety and depression. You've been giving your body this drug that has been telling your brain to produce all the chemicals that make you feel so good and high and euphoric, and then all of a sudden it stops, and your brain is just void of all of that. Even being put, being arrested and going through that type of stuff, and put on probation and being monitored, I couldn't stop. I remember walking in, I have so much guilt for this, and I remember walking in one time and my husband is home, and my sister and my parents are there, and and I know this is going to be an intervention. And I thought, and all I could think about is, oh my God, I'm going to have to stop. Oh, I just was absolutely in a panic because I was going to have to stop. So I sit down, and they were so, I think it was so unbelievable to them that I could be a drug addict, that the intervention was that something was wrong with me mentally. That the symptoms, I mean, the signs were all there. I couldn't get anywhere on time. I was, probably ups and downs, and there was obviously something wrong. And so I think my dad was the only one that made a comment that it could be drugs, but the rest of them thought she's having some kind of a mental breakdown or some kind of mental illness. The guilt comes from that I went along with that because I knew I could still use. I thought they were on to me, and then I was going to have to go to treatment and stop.
So you were terrified.
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't ready. I admitted it. That was the most disturbing part of all of this. I knew I was an addict. I admitted I was an addict. I had sought help for my addiction, but I didn't stop. That was the most disturbing part. When you don't know you are, or you're in denial, that's one thing. I work with people like that, and my job is to get them out of that denial. But it's really, really difficult when they know they are and they just don't want to stop.
How did you get to the point of saying enough is enough? You said you've been in 3 or 4 treatment centers, but at what point were you willing to say, I'm willing to suffer through breaking this addiction?
I was on the verge of going to prison. That's what it was. And some addicts, I get some people in here, and it's their addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs, has started to cause problems in their marriage, and they come here for help and they want to stop. And I'm in such awe of them. I'm just, and I praise them for that. Because my job is to help them not take it as far as I did. But there are some people who go to prison, and they go to prison 5 times. We all have this stopping point, and nobody knows what it is. I didn't know what mine was. I thought the first time, because the very first time I went to rehab, I checked myself in. And when I went there, I thought, I've got to get these pills out of my system, go through this withdrawal. They're so terrible, but I can still drink and smoke marijuana. That's fine. That's what I told myself. And the first time when I got out of there, the first time I went and had a couple of drinks, I had drugs in my system within 2 hours.
The first step with you is to get in touch and do an assessment.
Yes. And everything's confidential. My license is dependent on that confidentiality. I can lose it. And I always tell my clients, if I see you in the grocery store or I see you out and about town, I'm not even gonna make eye contact with you or say hello to you. Now, if you want to come up and say hi to me, that's completely fine. Of course I love it.
How do you determine in that assessment who you're gonna move forward
Definitely.
with?
So I have contacts with treatment centers, which are in my opinion the best ones, both locally and out of state. And so if they require inpatient treatment, then I will get them connected with that, and I will get them to the right people. And really, these people kind of do it all for them. A lot of times they're not in any kind of a place to make decisions like that.
Right.
All they do is give their insurance information. And the people that I know that are affiliated, they take it from there. And a lot of times people are scared to go to treatment. And so having been there 4 times, I can tell them exactly what it's like. I made friendships in treatment centers that I'm still friends with today. This is a daily struggle. This is something where, especially in the beginning, you're fighting cravings every day, typically all day. If you're awake, you're fighting cravings in the beginning. What I do is very different. Having been through the recovery process and meeting with a therapist once a week just would not have been enough. And so the way I do it is I have a monthly program. And in that month, I see my clients once a week in person, and we meet for typically an hour. And I offer support in between sessions. So lots of my clients text, especially the younger ones. That's just how they communicate. So I'm kind of like a teenager on my phone. I'm always texting. A lot of them will check in with me, in the morning, in the evening, both. It's up to them. I've learned from, my own experience and professionally that I can't do it for you. And so I can guide you on, if you check in with me, and I kind of see their level of motivation, but I can't do it for them. And so I tell them if they're going through something that's kind of urgent, to call me. Now, if I'm in a session with somebody, I don't answer my phone, but as soon as I'm available, I call them back.
How does it progress along? I mean, you say it's a monthly process. How long should someone expect to be working with you?
I have some people that work with me for 1 month, and I have some people that work with me for over a year. Everybody's very different.
Okay.
Another thing I encourage, now again, going back to confidentiality, if you're my client, I would encourage you to sign and give me permission to talk with your wife. Because a lot of times they don't understand. Sometimes it's helpful if they can reach out to me. Living with an alcoholic or living with an addict, that the person who's living with the addict, they get just as sick as we are. And it's true. They become, controlling. They become anxious. They become depressed. And so, they need help too. And so a lot of times, if my client is comfortable and wants to give me written permission to speak with family, I'll provide them with support as well. If they don't want that, then sometimes they'll bring family in here and we'll have a session together.
All right, guys, so in wrapping up, I highly encourage you to get in touch with Jennifer. There are multiple ways to get in touch with her. You can Facebook message her through this, where this will be posted. You can email her. You can text message her. I know if she's like me, I love text messages. It's just the greatest thing. Or if you need to, you feel like it'd be better for you, you can call her. All the information is on this post. It's not hard to find. And outside of that, your website is?
It's www.alcoholandaddictionsupport.com.
Okay, so you can find her on the website. Stay tuned for a lot of stuff coming. It's so needed, guys. She's so easy to talk to, so easy to reach out to. And outside of all of that, you're really good at what you do.
Thank you.
I don't know that firsthand, but I know her well enough. I wish I could have that transparent experience. I don't have a drug addiction. But you're very comfortable to work with in all the years I've known you. And
Thank
so
you.
this is going to be a very exciting journey. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, I always end with a fist bump. All right, guys,
I've
stay
fist bumped
tuned.
you many times.
We have fist bumped a lot of times. By the way, if you don't know, we have worked out together in CrossFit for a lot of years,
Yep.
and that's been a lot of fun. So I'm really excited about more of a chance to work with Jennifer. Stay tuned for more cool stuff coming. Highly needed, guys. Please share, like, comment, let us know what your thoughts are. Let someone else know about this. And thank you, as always, for all the support from One Blue Robot, all the support you're going to be giving Jennifer. It means the world, and it's going to make a difference. So we'll be talking to you guys soon.